You spoke with one of the men who wrote this article.
Right.
Tell me who he is and what he had to say.
Pat Forty from Yahoo Sports is one of the guys who wrote this story along with Charles Robinson from Yahoo. I just talked to him on the radio a few minutes ago, Michael, and he was talking about, he reiterated some of the details that have already been reported that are in the story. But I asked him a couple of questions. I said, well, how much of this story is timed with the fact that this Syracuse team is favored to win the national championship in some eyes, and just how good they are. He said the story came out when the story came out. This isn't timed for March Madness, because a lot of Syracuse fans have been skeptical of that. You go back to Bernie Fine and kind of how that story was hurried out in the eyes of some fans in the wake of Penn State. So according to Pat Forty, that wasn't the case. And to relate this to Bernie Fine in a way, I said, well, this is a 3-month investigation. This goes back into when the national media
was all blowing up, and they were crawling all over Syracuse.
Absolutely, and he did acknowledge that that was part of this, that, the national media is looking into this. They're looking into other things. Now, they had gotten word about this story, and that's what they looked into, but he said it certainly did circumvent the process that so many people were looking into Syracuse University. So it's one of those deals, Michael, where maybe you were looking for this, but you found that kind of thing.
The whole unnamed sources thing, they say they have at least 4. Is it at least 4 unnamed sources?
And they mention a 5th player who's separate from the 4 who was talked to the NCAA about this policy in place about drug testing, yes.
Why don't we know, do you think, the names of the people who have come forth here? I mean, journalistically, I understand. Why hasn't someone who has this much of an axe to grind, it would seem, with the program, come forward publicly?
That's a great question, because Yahoo Sports did another investigation, Michael, involving Miami football, and they did get a name on the record. He was a booster who paid a lot of players, and that was a major investigation by Yahoo as well. So they did get a name on the record there. Why they didn't get a name on the record here, that's a great question. I mean, I think it goes back to, it can go back to Woodward and Bernstein. How come we didn't find out who that source was till later in life? It's, and they did say people with intimate knowledge of the program. I mean, that could be construed in many different ways.
That's what got me. And you know what? And I floated this, and it got some attention in the internet. I floated Bernie Fine as a possibility here. Now, Bernie Fine's been a ghost since November, obviously. But why would they have said intimate knowledge of the team?
See, that's it. I think they're trying to indicate that
how many people have intimate knowledge of this team? I mean, this program is big, but it's not that big.
Particularly with players. And, when a player fails a drug test, okay, or there's some sort of playing time violation, there's a short list of people that know that within the context of the athletic department, the coaching staff. Do you know how, I mean, a handful, more than a handful? It's definitely a handful. I mean, it's 4 or 5 people. You're talking about coaches, compliance office, the athletic director, the family members involved, so it can grow from there, certainly, but the initial circle is small. But that's a great question. I mean, maybe these people don't want to get implicated in this, maybe they don't want to upset current members of the coaching staff. We know how these things go. We've got to wrap it up. Brent Axe, 1260 The Score. Thanks so much, buddy, for coming in. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate it. Love your perspective on that. We'll be right back.